BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Big Country Preps Wednesday night podcast, our weekly look at the area athletic scene, what happened last week, and what's going on this week. I'm here with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we do not have a guest. This is going to be our final Big Country Preps Wednesday night podcast of the year. And we're just going to take a quick look back and then talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing over the summer. And then, of course, what to expect as the football season approaches.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. We've been talking about this quite a bit over the last month or so. Just that it's just amazing how fast time flies. Once that season starts, I mean, it felt like 2 or 3 weeks ago that you and I were chasing down coaches and putting together our football preview, and now the entire school year's over. We just got done covering Wall at the state baseball. The FCA All-Star games are behind us. I mean, the 2022-23 school year athletic season is over. Obviously, we're still going to be putting out our All Big Country Preps baseball teams and softball teams here pretty soon. But like as far as coverage, it's crazy to think about it. But the school year's over, and we're about to start preparing for the next one.
We just finished with the photo tour for 2 days. That's what it feels like, and then all of a sudden, season's gone. It's over. And then basketball, boom, over, and then school year, boom, over. It was incredibly fast, and every time I think that it can't get any faster, it does. The older you get, the faster it goes. That's what the old timers say. You know what? Now that I'm an old timer, I agree with it. It's true.
Yeah, and obviously when you stay busy, that contributes to it as well. And really, I mean, year round, you and I are chasing down something, going out to covering something, putting together features. I mean, you really don't get a chance to breathe, and then you look up and the school year's over. It's pretty wild to think about. But yeah, you mentioned it feels like we were just doing our photo tour. I was looking ahead. We'll be starting our next one at the end of next month. Actually, the practices start on the final day of July this year, and then the season will get going in August, obviously. So pretty crazy to think, but we're already about to start preparing for next school year, which is wild.
All right, before we get started on the show tonight, we need to thank some of our sponsors, beginning with For the Love of the Game Broadcasting and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of K-Lakes 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, 97.7 FM KATX out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, 94.7 FM KWKQ out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a vehicle, new or used, give Rob a shout. He's one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet. Call him at 254-559-2266. That's Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge. All right, and before we get started, we want to give you a quick reminder for you YouTubers out there to please hit the subscribe button, and then also hit that little bell so you'll get notifications each and every time we come out with a new Wednesday night podcast. Now, of course, it's going to be the final Wednesday night podcast of this school year, but once we get started again on those Wednesday night podcasts, you'll receive notifications once football season starts back up again. So please go ahead and subscribe. We would appreciate it.
We'd also like to remind you that while the Wednesday night podcast will be going on a hiatus for the summer, we will be starting our Countdown to Two-A-Days series here later this month, where we will be previewing each of the base 40 schools that we cover and kind of presenting some questions we will be answering on each of those in our football preview that comes out in August. So be on the lookout for those. If you're interested, getting excited about the football season, we're going to have you covered there with those Countdown to Two-A-Days, and those are right around the corner. So make sure you're checking on the site for those.
All right. With that, it's time to talk about the 22-23 school year, which I'm flat out stunned is over. I'm stunned. But a memorable year, and it started off with football, of course. We had a couple of state titles in the 11-man level. We had Albany winning, of course, and we had Hawley winning state championships. Very memorable. And it was great to see Denny Faith land that big state championship. That monkey's off of his back forever now. And of course, Mitch Abels collects his first as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in that way, probably will go down as kind of an iconic year when people look back at it. Like you said, Coach Faith has had multiple cracks at it and was really hoping to get that first, and finally got that first championship. It was just a huge, huge deal. Everyone was super excited for him. And that was a great Albany team that was able to accomplish that for him. And then Coach Abels, who's done such a good job at Hawley, got his first as well after taking the Bearcats to the state championship the year before. So a huge year for our small school football teams. And then obviously Brock got to the state championship game as well, fell there, but it was a great season for them. And on the local front, Wiley had their best season in Class 5A. And there were a lot of things that happened this year that made it a really memorable year on the football front, and really that just kind of led into the rest of the school year, and it really didn't slow down. We had a lot of success from a lot of different schools this year.
Basketball was a blur to me. Once we got out of football, we got into basketball, and before you knew it, I mean, you just blinked, and it's playoff time. The biggest memory for me would be one of the best Jim Ned teams that we've seen in the last decade, falling to just an overwhelmingly good Holiday team in the regional tournament. Just disappointing. I was disappointed for them because Ned was fielding one of the best teams that I've seen quite a few really good Ned teams, including a state championship team, and that team ranked right up there with any of them, and they just ran into this buzzsaw from Holiday and couldn't get past them. I was sad for them, but that's my biggest memory from basketball from this year will be the Ned girls, that Ned girls team.
I think one of the big storylines that'll probably stick with me from the basketball season was the success a lot of our 1As had. You looked at Huckabee getting back to the state tournament, to the state finals this year on the girls' side. We had 1A teams in 3 of the 4 region tournaments. A really young Gordon team, which is going to be we'll be talking about them for years. Got to the regional tournament. Huckabee
Yes.
On the boys' side played for a region title, and then you had Benjamin and Jayton both make it to state. And that Jayton game, going to overtime with just a phenomenal Grayford team, had a chance to win it there. It was a great season for them. But yeah, there were just some really memorable games too. That state championship game between Grayford and Jayton's one that I won't soon forget. I mean, those two teams were super evenly matched. Go to overtime at the state championship game. That you can't ask for much more than that. And then at the 3A level, and this one I know is tough for the Brock boys, who lost by 1 point in overtime, by 1 bucket in overtime for the second straight year in the region championship game. So you talk about some thrillers that Brock has played in the last two years, and kind of had to come up on the losing end of those. And I was at both those games. Those are things that kind of stick with you over time as well.
I'm curious to see how good that Gordon team becomes, say, next year, but the year after that, once they start becoming upperclassmen, because we're talking 5 freshmen.
Yeah.
We're talking 5 freshmen. We hung the nickname the Kitty Corps on them for a reason, and because they're really just kiddies. And by the time they're juniors, seniors, they're going to be lethal. If they hold it all together and take care of business, that team's going to be lethal. It's going to be fun to watch.
And really, I mean, we're talking about basketball, but that's across all sports. I mean, they had a banner year athletically with kids who were
track too.
Ninth graders track. I mean, every sport, football, baseball. They were competitive in everything. With kids who can't drive yet. So I mean that's a program to watch, and one that I know that the folks out there are really excited about. And basketball in particular is going to be a team to watch. To get to the region tournament with a team full of freshmen, I mean that doesn't happen at any level. And to get to look forward to and kind of dream on that team a little bit. I think that they expect at some point to make a state tournament appearance, and I'd be surprised if they don't.
And as we jump into the spring, first off with softball, Hermleigh and Coahoma both capturing state championships. Hermleigh is becoming a 1A dynasty, at least a big country dynasty, taking its first state championship. And then Coahoma probably would threaten to go to state at the 4A level, and the way they're playing. Those are a couple of outstanding programs that really you can really look at it and say, hey, they've got great chances of getting back there again next year. And then, of course, in baseball, you followed Wall down to Round Rock, where they fell in the state championship game. But what a season for the Wall Hawks! What a final season for Coach Schneers in his final year.
Yeah, and then just I'll get back to Wall here in just a little bit, but just to finish up our thought on softball, you mentioned Coahoma and Hermleigh, which are both making their second trips in a row to state, got that state championship this year. But then there was Stanford, which with a new coach makes their third straight trip to Austin. And
Well, you
that's a big story too.
nearly got there without Sitlali Gutierrez, which is huge. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, no, with Emma Follis, the freshman in the circle, they made it all the way to Austin, a new coach. That was a great story as well. And then on the baseball front, obviously Wall was our one state qualifier. But you look, we had Stephenville was playing for a chance to make it to the state tournament and fell one game short. You had May lose to Nazareth in the region finals, and then obviously Hawley, which like Albany lost to New Home on their way to the state tournament as well. So we had a lot of teams going into that last week. We had an opportunity to get 4 teams down to Austin, and really 5 teams because Brock and Wall were playing each other. So
In
a
terms
really
of
strong
depth, in
baseball team.
terms of depth of talent, do you recall a better year in terms of depth, overall depth of talent in baseball and softball throughout all the classifications than we had this year in
Yeah, I
baseball
mean,
and softball? It's as good as I've ever seen.
I'm having trouble thinking about it. I think softball, it's kind of become where you expect 2 or 3 teams to make it to softball state every year, which is wild. This area has really become a very strong area for softball. And then baseball, I mean, when you've got 5 teams vying for a chance to go to Round Rock or Austin the last week of the regional playoffs, yeah, I think you're probably right. I can't think of a time where we had this many teams either make it to state or have an opportunity to make it to state. And then you had Wall go right there down to the end, and while they fell just short in Coach Jason Schneer's final season, they showed a ton of heart. I was really impressed by that team. I watched a whole lot of Wall baseball over the course of the playoffs, but that game in the state championship game against Boyd kind of showed what that team was all about. They fell behind 6-0. The Boyd starter had a perfect game through 4 2/3. It did not look like Wall was going to have much of an opportunity, and then they just fight back, battle back, cut it to 6-1 in the sixth, and get it all the way down to all the way to 6-4 with the tying man at the plate in the seventh. And while they fell short, I think that kind of showed what that program is and what they're capable of. And I talked to Coach Schneers and just said, I mean, obviously they didn't get their storybook ending, but I think that was kind of what you expected from a young Wall team to go out fighting, and you can't ask for a whole lot more than that.
To do what they did without a single senior on the roster, without a single senior on the roster. If they take care of business next year, they're going to be right back there. They
Yeah,
take care of
no,
business.
and that's a big part of that story is that's still a young team. They got several key juniors, but that team has a ton of freshmen and sophomores who are key players for them. That is going to be a really good program. That's kind of the interesting deal about Schneers leaving when he did is he's leaving his successor with a whole lot of talent. The next Wall coach is going to have he's going to get a Ferrari to drive.
Yeah, he's handing the keys to a Ferrari over to somebody. That's what he's doing. He's leaving as his team is reaching its peak, and it just shows. I mean, what strength of character the guy's got. He's putting family first, and what a tough thing to do. But he's doing what he feels is right, and for him, and hey, God bless him for it. But that's the toughest time ever to leave a team because they are going to be so good next year, so good. And he built the program.
Yeah, we got a couple of those. That's the interesting thing. This Wall team was one of my favorite to follow all year, just because to see a young team do that and just play with the class and grit that they played with. But the Stephenville team, which made it to the Region 1-4A finals, I thought that was a really good story too, because that was a team that graduated a whole lot of talent off a team that went to the state tournament 2 years ago and last year made it to the region finals before falling to Argyle, which was back at state in Class 5A this year. And to graduate a ton of guys off that, only have a handful of seniors, a couple of seniors playing primarily with juniors and even a few sophomores to get all the way to the region championship, really the region championship game, because they won game one. They were one win away from getting back to Austin in their case. That was a really cool story too. I enjoyed. I got to see a lot of Stephenville. They played a lot of games in town, so I got to see a lot of their playoff run as well. And that's one that I'll remember as well. Just those are 2 teams that go ahead and write it down now. We're going to be seeing the Wall and Stephenville teams have a lot of success next year as well.
All right. And with that, it's the last thing we want to talk about in our final podcast of the year. So, let you know what we're going to be doing all summer long. A combination of things. We're going to be doing features for every single one of what we call our base 40, our 11-man football teams that we cover at bigcountrypreps.com. We're also going to be doing football previews for all of them, including 6-man football teams. We cover over 70 total football teams. And we're also going to be running Countdown to Two-A-Days, which is something that we've been doing as a tradition here at Big Country Preps. We'll be going over the last 40 days of summer prior to two-a-days. We'll count down all of our 40 teams and answer the burning questions that we're going to answer in our football preseason preview on August the 16th. We're going to be talking about each and every one of those teams throughout the course of the summer. So please hang with us. That's another reason to hit the subscribe button.
Yeah, you'll definitely want to check those out. If you're as excited about the upcoming football season as we are, you'll want to watch those. It'll give you kind of an idea of what to expect in our preseason preview, which will be more thorough than what you can find anywhere else in the area. As far as Big Country football goes, you'll definitely want to be here on August 16th when we release that preview. There's going to be a ton of information, and we will get you prepared for that with the countdown to 2 days. And also, for you baseball and softball fans, make sure you be on the lookout in the next couple of weeks for our All Big Country Preps teams and our All Hustle team. We're not quite finished with this school year yet, so stick with us and make sure you check those out as well.
All right. And with that, it's about time to wrap up the Big Country Preps Wednesday night podcast. But before we do that, we want to remind you, we've got 3 separate subscription packages at bigcountrypreps.com. We got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription. We knocked that price down to $4 a month. And then we got an annual 12-month subscription. We knocked that price down to $3 a month, $36 for a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage.
We'd also like to remind you, if you see a photo you like in any one of our galleries, those are available for purchase. We have photo downloads available for $7, as well as some prints and keepsakes. So make sure you check those out. As you scroll through the site, you'll notice pretty quickly we take a lot of photos from these events we're at. It's something we really enjoy doing and something we are very proud of here at bigcountrypreps.com.
All Big Country, all high school, all the time. Welcome home.